Hey, what's up everybody? It's Austin, and today we have a video that's been needing to come to this channel for quite a while actually. That is this 2001 Ford Ranger XLT 4x4 off-road. And this is actually my first vehicle. This is the first vehicle I ever got while I was in high school, and I've been trying to keep it alive. There's a lot to this story, and we'll be getting into that here in just a second. Ooh, look, rock. Alrighty, so this truck has been sitting for a while. We got a wasp hanging out around here, and that's it's been sitting for a little while. So they like to make their wasp nests and stuff in there. They're mud daubers, or at least that's what I call them. So this is my 2001 Ford Ranger XLT 4x4 off-road, all the hoopla, all the fun stuff. Now this truck has been sitting for well, it has not been running in over a year, and that's because I've been doing an engine swap, kind of an engine swap. The engine itself that's in this truck right now is out of the 2007 Ford Mustang that I had purchased for parts. Give me just a second. Let me pop this hood open for you. All right, so this engine came out of a 2007 Ford Mustang. And the only thing, again, the block and all the internals are the exact same. In fact, Ford upgraded some of the timing chain guides and the timing chain tensioners in the Mustang model because it was possible that they could be seeing more power, and they were later models after the 4.0s that were in the Rangers and the Explorers. So a little bit better engine in the truck now than what was in it before. Now the engine that was in this truck before still wasn't technically the original engine that was in this truck. This is the truck's third engine, and I've been doing all the work, and it's been started YouTube a little late when it came to this project, but I've done, I would say, 90% of the work, with the exception of some of the machining that's needed to be done. I'm not that smart. I'm not going to do it. So this is the third engine. The first engine had cracked heads, and we had purchased a parts engine which gave us brand new, or not brand new, low mileage heads. That engine had skipped timing, bent a valve, and nicked a couple pistons, so the bottom end was technically trashed. The heads were usable and savable. Those were machined and put on the block that was originally in this truck. So those heads ended up not getting torqued down enough, and the whole passenger side head was loose, and that caused a head gasket to go, pumping coolant into the oil, and it was milkshaky. Almost like a nice creamy chocolate milkshake. Almost good enough. No, don't drink that. But the head gasket went on there, we got the milkshake, and the engine came out again. I was very reluctant to let that engine go. What I mean by that is I wanted to fix it. I wanted to rebuild that engine, keep the engine in the truck that it came in. And I was pricing out parts, and it was about $500, $600 just for the rebuild kit for the whole engine. We're talking gaskets, oil pump, the whole thing. Then I started doing some research, and I found that V6 Mustangs engines, the single overhead cam V6 Mustangs, those were the exact same engines. those same engines, the 4.0 V6, were in the Explorers, the Rangers, and the Mustangs. So I found a Mustang, and I had mentioned this in a previous video I did. Found a Mustang on Facebook, and I think I mentioned it wrong in that video. It was actually listed for $1,000. The Mustang had 116,000 miles on it, and the engine was in running driving condition. The only reason that Mustang was so cheap was because it had quarter panel damage to a totaling factor, and the transmission was out on that Mustang. So, with all that said, I was able to talk the owner of the Mustang down to $730. So about $200 more than what it would have cost to buy a rebuild kit. The whole thinking behind it was, I will now have a engine with lower mileage and a little bit better upgraded parts, and I will have tons of parts I can sell to individuals in the community. And I let those parts go for cheap, but I still made money. I think after everything was said and done, I got the engine for free, and the car paid itself off. I think I made, after spending the $730, I made $1,100 back. So I got, you know, $300, $400 extra on my investment and a free engine. And to me, it was fun taking it apart. But man, I'm so happy I got this engine. Because these engines, if you try to find them at like a LKQ or a pull apart, most of the time they have issues already. Timing chain guides are usually the first thing to go, and they get the death rattle. And that's because those timing chain guides, they break because they're plastic, and they just shake when you start the trucks and the Explorers and the Mustangs. But again, with the Mustang engines, they're more rigid. So the engine has had a whole bunch of things taken off of it, put back on, and again, we're on our third engine. This truck has also gone through two, hear me say it, two transmissions. That is still the original transmission, or at least the case of the transmission is original. First thing that happened to it, the first time it needed to get rebuilt, if I remember correctly, it blew or it broke a gasket in between the transfer case and the that gasket broke, and it started dumping transmission fluid on the ground while I was driving from, I believe it was Illinois to Oklahoma. That cooked my transmission to the point of no return. It ended up having to be rebuilt. That was a pretty penny. And then it happened again. But the second time the transmission decided to say goodbye, it was because these lines, the transmission cooler lines that run into the radiator, somehow started leaking or something, but due to the pressure of the coolant, it pumped into the transmission lines, and it delaminated all of the friction belts and stuff like that in there, and that was thankfully under warranty, and it got fixed for I think $300 due to, that's just parts. So I was not complaining, and I'm very thankful to DC Transmissions here in Oklahoma. That's in Del City, actually. Great guy, and he has a phenomenal warranty when it comes to transmissions. I would do business with him again, but that's just me. Let's jump into the interior of this truck. For those of you who know your Rangers, know that this is not the stock interior. This is I guess a driver, passenger, and center console from a Ford Explorer. Now, the reason I went with the Ford Explorer interior swap on this is because this will hold you in your seat, much better than the bench seat, the 60/40 bench seat that was in this truck before. And oh my gosh, it is so much more comfortable with this interior than it was with the bench seat. I'm glad that was the first thing I did in this truck. Actually, it was the second thing I did in this truck. First thing was, and I like my music, so the first thing I did was change out the head unit and the speakers. And when you're a high school student, you want to be the coolest kid with the loudest truck, and there was others that had much louder trucks than I had, and cars. There were some really nice cars out there in the parking lot. With that said though, high school student, had to do that, make it my own. Then I did the interior. And of course we have the standard flip down small person seats. Not meant for grown people. It's not comfortable even with the stock interior. I've had bad experiences. But as you can see, this truck is not clean. Again, it's been sitting for over a year. And I want to do something a little special for this truck because it's been neglected for the past 2 years. I want to bring this to the Auto Spa LLC. Now, if you all are from Randy's channel or maybe even TK's channel, they have mentioned something along the lines of the Auto Spa LLC in Oklahoma. I've had the ability to go with Randy and check out what they can do to vehicles, and I will say they do some amazing work. This truck has a little over a year's worth of grime. It's got dirt on it that's been sitting for a year. This truck has been sitting for a long, long time, and it deserves a really good bath, a nice deep cleaning, and they do interior cleaning as well. So that would make this thing look amazing and all that jazz. All right, with that said, I'm going to end the video here. I'll have another video working on some miscellaneous things here and there with the Ranger. I'll also have another video diagnosing the fuel pump issue. But that's going to be it for today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget we're still having that giveaway going. But I'll see you in the next one, and I hope you all have a great day.